Today I'm going to do the inconceivable. I am going to compare a $7,000 legend of watchmaking, maybe the most famous watch in the world, to its homage, a watch worth less than $100. One of the watches may cost 1% of the price of the other, yet these two really look alike. So the aim of this video is, of course, not to tell you to buy the homage instead of the original. Nobody looking to buy the original will do that. But it is to let you know how much the homage comes close to the original, if any, or how far it actually is. And of course, I'm going to be leaving links to both watches in the description of the video. I used to do this kind of comparisons a lot in the past. Go ahead and check them. I've compared the Rolex Submariner and Rolex GMT Masters with Pagani Designs and Saint Martin's. So if you want to check those videos, they're in the description of this one. Little disclaimer, I have a vintage version of the Speedmaster, one from 1992 actually, and even if the movement has changed quite a lot with the Meta certification ever since 2022, the finishing and many other aspects are really the same, so this one is still a good basis of comparison. But let's go ahead and let's compare these two. And we'll start with an easy one, dimensions. The dimensions of the Pagani are 42.1 in diameter. The diameter of the Pagani is 42.1 when the diameter of the Speedmaster is 41.9, so pretty much exactly the same. The height of the Pagani is 13.6 and the height of the Speedmaster with the headlight crystal is 14.1. And again, that is because of the really domed headlight crystal. The log-to-log of both of them is 47.8 millimeters and log width is 20 millimeters. The weight of the heads of the watches is 64 grams for the Omega and 65 grams for the Pagani. So these two are really similar, especially in the really similar leather bracelets that I have put them on. As the dimensions and weight are so similar, the wearing experiences are really very close, especially with these bracelets that I have put them on. So up to there, nothing to tell them really apart. But that changes when you look at the dials. The dial of the Omega is of course much more subtle and complex. And that is not because of the crispness of the printing. The printing is much crisper in the Pagani Design. A little bit too crisp, if you know what I mean. It is much thinner and therefore feels much more subtle in the Omega. There's also only 2 lines of text in the Pagani, whereas there are 3 plus logo in the Omega. The dial color also changes, being a really dark black in the Pagani and a really subtle, almost chocolate black in the Omega. It might be because of the crystals, the Pagani having the sapphire and the Omega having the headlight, or it might be because my version is vintage and has received a lot of sun and therefore the dial might have started discolorating, but I don't think so. Having seen the modern versions, I can tell you that the color of the Pagani Design is much deeper than on a classic Speedmaster. The subdials also change quite a bit. Even though you have the same dispositions, you do not have the same functions. The dial at 3 in the Speedmaster is the dial of the elapsed minutes, but in the Pagani Design, because of the Seiko VK63, it is the 24-hour dial, or rather an AM/PM indicator. The dial at 6 in the Speedmaster is the hour dial, but in the Pagani it is the seconds of the main time. And finally, the dial at 9 on the Speedmaster is the dial of the elapsed time, but it is the dial of the elapsed seconds on the Pagani. Also, if you check the subdials really closely, you will see that both have the concentric circles, although they're much crisper and well defined on the Pagani. Once again, they're way more subtle and I believe nicer looking On the Omega, almost invisible, I would say. You almost need a loop to see that there are present in there. Although the hands have the same shape, they are much thicker in the Pagani. So once again, if you look at these two from the front, you will see a much more modern interpretation rather than copy of what the Omega offers in the Pagani design. Case-wise, the case has pretty much the same asymmetrical shape with the famous lyre lugs, although even the lyres are a little bit different, with the polished part being a little bit larger in the Pagani design. The crispness of the polishing is pretty much the same, which is a compliment to Pagani design. However, where you see the difference is in the transitions between the polishings and the brushings. The transitions being much better in the Omega, of course. Finally, something that we cannot almost not compare here is the crystals. The headlight has a distortion when looking from an oblique angle, and the warmth that so many collectors love. Even though the Pagani has a domed crystal, it does not convey the same charm than the Omega does. It is much more scratch resistant though. If you flip the watches, you will see the famous Omega seahorse on the Speedmaster, and the also famous inscriptions, flight qualified by NASA for all manned space missions, the first watch worn on the moon, and that is why this watch is so damn important. If you flip the Pagani design, you will see also a space-themed design with a space rocket navigating through space, and at the left of the rocket, a body that appears to be the moon. Let's talk about the bezels. In the Omega you have the classical black aluminum bezel. Tachymetre here is written without the accent in the first E, and I just have the dot next to 90 version. If you check the Pagani design, the material made in here, it pretty much has the same layout, only tachymetre is with the E written the French way with the accent, and the material is ceramic. It appears different as well, a little bit faded compared to the blackness of the bezel of the Omega. Movement-wise, as you know, the 861 of the Omega is a famous hand-wound movement without hacking, but when you press it, it has some clear resistance. Same thing when you set it back to zero. As for the Seiko VK63 in the Pagani design, it is a very well-known and tried movement as well, with a quartz keeping the main time and a mechanical module for the chronograph. When you press the chronograph buttons, it is not as resistant, though, as the Omega. So what can we tell of these two watches? Does the Pagani design come close to the Omega? Well, in terms of pure functionality and in terms of pure finishing and all that, it does. Besides from the dial, where the quality really shows in the Omega, in the rest of the watch, Pagani does a pretty good impression. As I said at the beginning of the video, nobody that is planning on buying a Moonwatch is gonna want to buy a Pagani design. However, somebody who is planning on buying a Moonwatch because he wants the Moonwatch experience will certainly be much better off for the experience itself with the Pagani design than with the Moonwatch, and for much, much less money. And that is really important, and that is why this little watch is actually important, because it gives you the Moonwatch wearing experience, and it does look and feel like a Moonwatch without the hefty price, which is actually why everybody went so crazy about the Moonwatch. So for that, it is an excellent, excellent alternative. Not to the Moonwatch, but to the Moonwatch. That will be my conclusion. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Let me know if you enjoy this kind of comparison videos that I haven't made in a long, long time. I'm gonna leave you here with the other videos that I made ages ago, comparing the Rolex Submariner with its Saint-Martin counterpart and the GMT Master with its Pagani Design Hommage. Thank you very much, and I'll be seeing you in those videos right away.